Hi there and welcome back to Torment, Tides of Numenera. We are here with our last cast of Explorer, and she's looking at things and exploring and finding out everything about the world is our motivation. So we'll look at things. We'll find the holographic panel here. It appears to be a control interface. In the center is what looks like a utility map of Sega's cliffs. Oh. It's surrounded by a number of symbols you cannot immediately identify, and in the upper right quadrant is some sort of cube within a cube. Strange as the panel is, you can't take a strong sense of familiarity about it. First we'll examine it closely. The map of Segas has a number of locations highlighted, some of which you recognize. There are 4 symbols around it. A circle that looks like the sun, a cluster of stars, a triangle of 3 eyes, and what looks like a crystal lattice. All the symbols are lit, except for the crystal lattice. Larger than all 4 symbols is the cube within a cube, which you suddenly remember is called a tesseract. It appears to be moving. You try to determine the purpose of the various interface elements. Stare at the controls for several minutes, but you can't make no sense of them. It might be easier if you just try them out to see what happens, but we'll try to use the anamnesis. Try to remember why this feels familiar. We'll try it out. 65%. Well, we'll try. Memory emerges as clear as if it were happening to you right now. You are at a cracked door at the base of a stairwell. The door squeaks quietly as you ease it open. Your breath catches in your throat, but the Dabat soldiers outside don't notice you. You squeeze through the door, a keen-eyed young girl behind you, and slip out of the tower, down the blood-stained corridor and into the city. The city is under attack. You dash through the streets to the nearest of your generators. Pressing a couple of buttons, you and the girl are teleported elsewhere. Find yourself in front of the very same control panel atop the cliff. With quick movements, you shift the tesseract, slipping the controls from space to time. Then you press the cluster of stars to connect the network of temporal shield generators. On the map, the network of generators bursts to life, sharing energy across the city to create an enormous shield over all of Sega's cliffs. The dome of energy fills the sky, unmooring the city from time itself. On the other side of the shield, the world shifts and shimmers. Objects and landscape appearing and disappearing before your eyes. The place is the same, you realize, but you're seeing it in many different time periods at once. The important thing is that no one can enter or exit the dome while the city is temporarily unmoored. That should buy the city's defenders the space they need to fight off the Tabat and survive. The memory fades. You stand above Caravanserai again. The interface is the same as the one from your memory, and you understand what at least some of these controls do. Ooh, touch the 3 eyes to see what they do. The map changes color. Each of the bright points lights up in turn, occasionally stretching a faded line from one point to another. After a minute of this, the map fades. A voice speaks the truth directly into your mind. Temporal network. Connections limited. Please repair the network. The crystal lattice next to the map lights up. And the sun symbol. Platform hums. The air pops and sizzles. For a few seconds, activity outside the platform shifts. People flicker in and out. Caravanserai changes. First the ships and then the buildings themselves. You see them as old and deteriorated, then new, then under construction on the bare rock. Or within seconds your platform remains steady, but outside, as if time is shifting as swiftly as the sea. Platform shudders suddenly, then clicks off. The air cools and quiets, and Caravanserai returns to the way it was. Keeping the energy dome active for so long, centuries or longer, it seems that the platform no longer has enough power to remain active. Let's try out the cluster of stars too. The bright points on the map grow even brighter, and the platform beneath your feet hums with a growing warmth. Thin strands of energy, barely visible in the sunlight, stretch across the city between each location on the map. At the same time, faded lines appear on the map connecting each point. A network of generators which this panel controls. Then with a loud pop the energy fades, the humming stops, and everything returns to the way it was. Now the crystal lattice. Again, the map lights up and changes colors. The lines between each point grow and fade. Some of them grow solid and then disappear. Others have gaps in them that never light up at all. After several minutes, the activity ceases and the voice speaks to you again. Could not restore network. Temporal connections have deteriorated beyond repair. Please consult your system conservator immediately. You can't raise the shield again like in your memory. The network once had another purpose, you remember. In the memory you used the Tesseract to shift the controls from time to space. Perhaps, if you shift it back, we'll do that. As soon as you touch it, the impossible cubes shift and move with your fingers. It seems to snap into two different states. With unfamiliar gestures, you rotate the Tesseract. The inner cube squeezes out and becomes the outer cube, while the outer cube becomes the inner one. Some of the locations lit up on the map change. Among other locations, 2 new lights appear in Caravanserai. One marking the platform where you're standing. The other cube moves in space, no longer flickering as it was before. Presumably, the controls are now set to the spatial dimension. So, spatial, and then we'll inspect the network. Spatial network connections limited. Please repair the network. Okay. We'll repair the network by pressing the crystal lattice. Again, the map lights up and changes colors. Lines appear between each point. Some are faded, while others have gaps in them. One by one, each line becomes brighter and better connected to the rest. After several minutes, the map shows a network of points. The control panel ceases its activity and the voice speaks to you again. Spatial network restored. Connection procedure may now proceed. Oh yeah, then we'll do that. Connect the current network by pressing the cluster of stars. Map lights up again and the voice speaks into your mind. Spatial translation network connected. State your destination. You don't recognize the location of all the points, so you don't know what name the machine expects, but you do know some of them. Oh, we could go Mirla West. Really? Wow, yeah, of course, we have now heard about Mirla West and we're now very curious. Destination not recognized. Please state again. Oh, the Colne village? Please state again. Ah, no. Come on. The Reef of Fallen Worlds? I don't know. Maybe let's go to Cliff's Edge. I don't know. The entire platform hums to life. The air sparks and crackles around you. And with a pop, you are somewhere else. Boom! Wow, that's cool. Is that a network of... Are the other things also working? That would be really great. And there we appear again in Cliff's Edge. Hi there.
Ready.
We could use it. Only one of the consoles surrounding the machine is working. Flicking lights gleam beneath the layers of grime and corrosion. We'll leave it alone. That's pretty cool. Oh, I love that. Where to go now? Where to go now? Circles in red. We now got to go to the Dendrahur and question the cultists there. Because that's really... We really need that. We really need to do that because people might die and we don't want that. We've got a good heart. Did you just say recover your stolen goods here? The hawker? Red Tides represents passion, emotion, action and zeal. Living for the moment. So no, we don't want meat. Whatever meat it is you're selling.
Of course.
We'll go here and speak to the Dendro again. A hideous facade is carved into the rock. It depicts corpses, giant maggots, and a ghastly woman who feasts upon human limbs.
Ready.
Can we enter now? Come on.
On it.
Can we enter, please? Yes. Okay, nice. Oh, nice. Nice. Speak to them again.
Without doubt.
Imbitu. What can you tell us about? These are all restless corpse. Imbitu beams at you, clasping his skeletal hands together like a tangle of twigs. Such a curiosity you are. Well, some more questions about the Dendro. Splendid, he says, rubbing his hands together. Ask away. No. Let's talk to him about Fulsome. I'm helping Fulsome investigate some trouble in the underbelly. Can I ask you some questions? Of course, he says. Then do tell Fulsome hello from me. We are dear friends. He raises a finger. Well, he frowns more than I smile, but we do have a grand time whenever we meet, which is often. So, tell me about the children of the Endless Gate. A smile falls from Imbitu's face. I hope you're not asking for the reason I think you are, he says. They began as a branch of the Dendro that was more impatient in their appetites. His lip twitches like the memory of a snarl. Years ago, my sisters and brothers and I chased them from the city and erased their names from every record, or thought we had. Perhaps, he says, turning troubled eyes on his acolytes. No, this is the first time I've spoken of the Endless Gate in years. They cannot possibly be involved. He takes a deep breath and smiles at you again. It's like watching a wrinkled sun emerging from the crowds. Scan thoughts, could their twisted beliefs have somehow infected one of them? Impossible. Really impossible. Where were you when Fulsome's protege was killed? Ah, he says, excited. I have quite an amazing alibi. Is that how you say it? Alibi? He draws himself up and sets his jaw sternly like a caricature of justice himself. I was with Fulsome the entire night. He can tell you as much. Scan thoughts. It may not have been entirely legal what we did, but it wasn't murder.
Making a note.
Oh, he leans in close to whisper in your ear. I've promised Fulsome I wouldn't tell anyone how he helps with things. You will need to ask him if you want to know more. He winks and stands back. So, as you can see, I'm beyond suspicion. Scan thoughts. For one thing, the priest was already dead. Do we want to know? Well, I have evidence that the Dendro are involved. Can I speak with your acolytes? Oh my, he says, I suppose you have my permission. Do be gentle with them. Flashes his teeth at you if they deserve it, of course. Do you think any of the other Dendro could be capable of murder? Certainly not, he declares, then pauses. Well, they do come and go as they please, hunting for bodies left in the gutters like broken leaves. He smiles mistily up at the air, as though reminded of his younger years. The devourer of wrongs was standing vigil these last few days, but any of the others could be responsible, I suppose. He runs his eyes across them, humming a fretful little melody. Oh dear, he says, they really are a suspicious lot, are they? Madat enjoys hurting people, Kiatawa tells her little lies, and Xay, well, she is quite unique. He seems as pleased as though he accomplished her uniqueness himself. All in all, they are a horrifying bunch, aren't they? I really hadn't noticed before. Well, farewell then. Farewell. Take care. Take great care. Oh, let's talk to Mullet while taking great care. What do you want, shillmeat? Mullet says, leering. Imbitu gave me the permission to ask you about the murders. Is that right? He says, glancing at Imbitu. The leader of the Dendro gives him a small nod. Yeah, all right, he says. Ask your questions. For all the good it will do you. Did you know Weedle? Ha, he says. Yeah, I knew him. Glad to hear he's dead. He chuckles. He was smart and knew it. Always looking down on the rest of us. Always ordering people around with Fulsome looking on, smiling. He snorts. But if you're thinking I chopped him, I didn't. I was getting drunk in a corner of the manufactory. He grins nastily, wondering what all the screaming was about. Scanthol's damn uppity lark nib. I should have been Fulsome's man, not him.
I'll remember that.
You know who you should ask, he says, leaning in. Kiatawa. I saw her hunched over some corpse in an alley, all by herself. Doesn't matter what the meat is. People who eat on their own always got something to hide. He nods at the other cultist, and Gaze's one to watch too. She ain't like you or me, she's a mutant, and not one of the nicer ones. Scanthorpe and everyone eats on their own. Everyone's got something to hide. Everyone, also you. I want to talk to you about your eating habits. Is that right? He says, scratching one of his sharpened teeth. Not much of a mystery there. I eat people. I like it, he shrugs. If that doesn't answer your question, go and ask. How many corpses have you eaten, man? You mean besides usual meat? He says, chortling. Can't give you the exact number, he says. You eat what's given to you here, but at least one time at midnight I was out on my own and found a corpse lying beneath a stack of rusty metal. Someone just left him there to rot. He shakes his head. Perception, his expression of mock regret barely masks his smile. Maybe I'll go for another walk tonight, he muses. Can't help wondering what else I'll find hidden under things. Scanthorpe, everyone eats on their own. That ain't no secret. Aha. Doesn't eating human flesh bother you? Bother? No, bother ain't the right word. He rubs the back of his neck. You think you're gonna mind the taste, but you don't. The part I don't like is that memories from the person you eat end up in your head, and you can't make them shut up. The four of us ate this skolark, not a fancy one, but one with old robes. Kiatawa was talking about some word she kept hearing after. He scowls. I didn't get a word. I saw a memory of his when I was picking him out of my teeth. He was lying in bed, dying maybe, waiting for his son to come seeing. His eyes kept closing, and his son never came. Shakes his head like a beast trying to dislodge a biting insect. Not that I saw anyway, and that's just from one meal. Scanthorpe, they get in my head, make me forget who's me. Imbitu says it gets easier, but perception of Mollet. His eyes flicker away from you, and for a brief moment you see the fear in his eyes. The helplessness. Why do you eat corpses if it troubles you so much? It doesn't trouble me, he growls, but his voice is shaking. It just ain't easy. But it'll get better. Look at Imbitu. He's been doing this a long time. You glance at Imbitu. The elderly head of the Dendroher waves and gives you a huge rotten grin. I want to ask about something else. Yeah, I bet you do. Will we talk to him about the Endless Gate? Probably wouldn't be prudent, right? Tell me what you think about the other members of your family. Family, he repeats, a good one. I trust my brother over this bunch, and he tried to cut my throat when I was 5. He clucks his tongue. Go and ask your questions. Imbitu, what is your opinion? He's all right, Mallet says. Got half the city scared of him, and the other half bringing him meat. Not bad for an old man who smiles and everyone and never raises his voice. And thoughts, I hope to be half that feared when I'm done. More than half. And what do you think of Xe? Xe is a monster, he says, shaking his head. Less than human and more than a beast. I've seen her take a corpse's face off with a swipe of those claws and tuck it into her mouth like pan bread. Didn't stop until the body was gone, done, and down to the last drop of blood. He bites his upper lip. Drawing ribbons of blood. Talk to Xe if you want. Figure her out. Me, I keep my distance. And how do you feel about Kiatawa? He opens his mouth to respond, closes it, thinking. Something's wrong with her, he says finally, and I ain't stupid. I know how that sounds coming from me, just something's broken in her. And it's always getting worse. Perception, you feel eyes on you. You glance around in time to see Kiataba look away. Alright, thank you, Mullet, and farewell. And thank you for watching. We'll see each other in the next episode. At the Dendra O'Her, where the altars are made of human bones, with a carved skeletal head mounted above. Live maggots wriggle in the empty eye sockets. Have a good time until then, and happy gaming.